So our favorite controlled opposition, and I feel safe saying that now, Robby Starbuck, has been implicated. The Lunduke Journal here, and I quote retweeted the Lunduke Journal correcting them when they posted all of this IBM stuff. I don't think IBM is dropping DEI. I know the Lunduke Journal follows me, but I don't know if they read my tweets, so I don't know if they know about Bridge. But Lunduke Journal said, here's me informing Robby Starbuck about the IBM dropping DEI story, which the Lunduke Journal broke multiple days ago, with a huge number of exclusive leaked internal documents, and I've been working on it since 2023, and which Robby Starbuck just took credit for doing. This is shady as all heck, and there's a screenshot of DMs here, a screenshot of Lunduke messaging Robby Starbuck saying, you see what's happening at IBM and Red Hat, getting a steady stream of leaks from them this week. And he posted his April 8th tweet about it's not just Red Hat who's ditching DEI policies. Parent company IBM, believe it or not, is as well, including the complete elimination of the racist blah, blah, blah. I corrected him. His leaks are important. Whistleblowers are important. And obviously, Lunduke Journal did the legwork on this. But the things that they're changing internally that the whistleblowers leaked is in line with the Bridge initiative. This is what Bridge is having companies do. So IBM and Red Hat are not ditching DEI. I think him getting this information is important, and I think having it out there publicly is important, but it's also important to understand that this is not them getting rid of DEI. This was part of the plan. And then Lunduke Journal goes on to say, feel free to reach out if you need any info on the tech side of things and keep up the great work. And down here, Robby Starbuck knew I published all of the Red Hat and IBM leaks, and he knew I was one of the core causes of the internal change at the company, and he knew I broke the story. I don't know if I would go that far, right? Because like he's pointing out that Robby follows him, so that means Robby probably saw his tweets. Again, I corrected Lunduke Journal on this being literally the Bridge initiative. He follows me. I don't assume that he just sees all of my tweets. Robby replied here and said, you sent this today, and I've been in contact with IBM for a while, who confirmed our talks and final resolution of changes to Bloomberg. Sorry, but I don't even know who you are. That's kind of fucking rude, man. Like, you literally follow him, dude. Like, what the fuck? That's kind of condescending. So he shows the tweet of the Lunduke Journal, what we just read, being sent. Lunduke is the kind of person that would talk to the Foxu about Bridge on a stream. This guy said, I'm doing my part. Wanted to let you know that I reported the IBM post you stole from Lunduke without credit for being spam. Robby Starbuck actually hid the Lunduke Journal's reply under his tweet taking credit for the IBM and Red Hat dropping DEI. Hidden replies, what? From the Lunduke Journal? Somebody else got a hidden reply, give credit to the Lunduke Journal. And considering I've been in contact with Robby Starbuck, and I've given him a lot of information on Bridge, I'm wondering about how long it'll take until he claims credit for the Bridge shit as well. That's, it's a little scummy here. It's a little scummy that I'm seeing. Robby Starbuck actually responded to your comment immediately after you made it, then he, almost instantly, deleted his reply. I wish I had screenshotted it or paid better attention to it so he knew. Interesting. Interesting. It goes deeper, chat. Let me click on this. The tweet that the Lunduke Journal made that he was quote retweeting says, wait, what? The Lunduke Journal is the almost exclusive source of all leaks coming from IBM and has been covering this relentlessly for quite some time. This is just like when I did that long video correcting Upper Echelon on him saying, like, anyone telling you DEI isn't going away is just a grifter. Like, the Bridge stuff doesn't really matter. I looked into it and I was like, what the fuck? I am the only source for anything Bridge. Like, if somebody has disseminated Bridge information, all of that has come from me. And so, Upper Echelon had the same response, where he was just like, I was talking about Grums being a grifter, I don't even know who you are. I was just like, just because Grums fucking quote retweets and puts out my information on Bridge doesn't mean that that's, like, Grums's thing, Yeah, that was a good one. I mean, like, I had someone from Upper Echelon's team join my Discord, and we talked it out, and, like, everything's fine now. Everything's fine. There's no beef. There's no beef, but, like, it was weird. Upper Echelon has the occasional dumb, bad takes. It's just, like, if you're going to say something like, I looked into Bridge and it's nothing to be worried about, and then Like, how are people supposed to take you seriously that you actually research things after saying something like that? Like, I know I'm small, especially in comparison to someone like upper echelon, but like the amount of work that I've shown from Bridge is just fucking crazy, man. Perhaps it's time you ask us fans to flood them with corrections, even if it's a format you make it so they can't ignore you. I mean, I don't want to ask people to do that, right? I've gotten comments on some of my videos where they're just like, oh, I would have cared about Bridge, but like your audience is so obnoxious, always commenting about it on every video about it. And it's like, there are people, like when Asmon does a DEI vid, or like this person in my comments, again, nothing against Clownfish. I've had zero bad interactions with them. The commenter just brought them up as somebody who had a lot of people correcting them about Bridge in their comments. They're just like, your audience is obnoxious with it, and so I don't care. And it's like, that's not my fault. If the person you're watching is incorrectly reporting about DEI and ignoring information that I've been putting out for the last year and a half, that's not my fault. I don't care if people are being obnoxious in other YouTube video comments, if they're correcting people, disseminating wrong information, especially when they have a much larger platform than I do. We're happy to do it. You're not alone. Yeah, I'm just not going to ask people to like fucking brigade, because that's dumb and gay. Right, that's dumb and gay. I've even heard from internal sources at both IBM and Red Hat that Lunduke Journal coverage was discussed regularly and was a major factor, in addition to lawsuits and changing laws, in the changing of these policies. I fully believe this. I fully believe that people internally are like, we're already changing our policies, and if we don't change them in a specific way, we already have someone who we know is going to out us if we keep doing DEI stuff. And the Lunduke Journal has a pretty sizable platform. Not, like, obviously he and I aren't as large as someone as Robby Starbuck, but it's still enough to be like, okay, we need to make sure that we sufficiently hide what we're doing. I announced these changes, I being Lunduke Journal, announced these changes 2 days ago here, and with the leaked emails from IBM and Red Hat CEOs in another tweet, you can see a timeline of all these leaks related to IBM and Red Hat's DEI policies here, and this is his local posts. IBM Red Hat leaks what we've learned so far, and this is what I'm trying to do for my Bridge coverage as well. And it's a lot of orientating. That's not a real word, but let me believe. So I've been trying to get this up on Twitter under like a Twitter article, so people have something like this to follow an exact timeline of stuff I've done with Bridge. So hopefully I can finish that sometime soon, TM. We need more hours in a day, chat. And so this starts in December 11th, 2023. So this guy has been doing this with IBM and Red Hat for a very long time. O'Keefe publishes a leaked video of IBM CEO Arvind Krishna. IBM will withhold bonuses from executives who fail to meet race-based hiring quotas. IBM has fired people for refusing to discriminate based on race in hiring. And then there's more stuff in December 20th, email and Slack leaks, Red Hat CEO video on December 22nd, May 8th, 2024, company meeting slides that he leaked, June 21st, Missouri versus IBM, Dill versus IBM in August, Red Hat and IBM drop DEI April 8th, 2025. I do not believe they did, and again, I'll bring up my tweet. The Lunduke Journal published multiple exclusive leaks from several IBM and Red Hat whistleblowers. Red Hat ending diversity quotas and other DEI programs in email to employees. IBM also ending DEI programs via employee email. Leaked comments from DEI activists within IBM. I don't think I read that one. April 9th, 2025, more employee reactions. The whistleblowers continue providing details to the Lunduke Journal from within IBM and Red Hat. DEI activists within Red Hat encourage violence and retaliation, and some IBM employees are happy about dropping DEI and speaking out internally. Right, so we have this week, IBM and Red Hat are taking the axe to their DEI programs. Want to see a thread of IBM employees, all DEI true believers, throwing temper tantrums about it within the company. Of course you do. Of course I do. And thanks to IBM whistleblowers, we have exactly that. Here's one guy saying, at first I found this hilarious. I pictured corporate comms teams frantically drafting and redrafting, each iteration a product of design by committee, slowly watering down the message into word salad. This announcement became, in trying to both pay lip service to inclusion and bend the knee to the current U.S. administration. They failed spectacularly at the former. But then I realized this is more sinister. This isn't just corporate absurdity, it's capitulation. It's standing on the wrong side of history. And this goes into what Cheryl Daisha said, that you have to be careful of how you word your messaging, because you don't want it to look like you've stopped doing the work. You don't want it to look like you're completely capitulating to the current administration. You don't want to be acting on the politics of the moment. You want to make sure that you're putting the longevity of your company and the work in place to last. There's another person that said, just say it. These changes intend to appease the current U.S. administration. Let's not forget the human and civil rights violations that are ongoing, directly encouraged by the current administration. Let's not forget ICE raiding without warrants, detaining without proof, fabricating evidence in some cases. Let's not forget Mahmoud Khalil and Dogu Khan Gunaidin. U.S. citizens have been hassled by ICE as well. I have no idea who these people are. We got another one here from somebody inside Red Hat. Absolutely shameful position by our executive management. 100 plus years of leadership. This space is thrown out the window in the interest of short-term profits. I joined this company as a graduate hire just over 5 years ago. The main reason I applied to this company was because of its long-standing history of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I wanted to be a part of a company that would welcome someone like me, and I believed it did. Yet, by removing outdated terms that are not outdated at all, it's capitulating to a growing mindset of bigotry towards so many minorities. If I saw this shift at IBM where they are downplaying their dedication to minorities when I was looking for a job in technology, I would not have applied. You're not attracting talent by doing this, you're shrinking your talent pool. The current political climate is unstable, to put it mildly, and it is a challenge, and I understand that. However, we're told in our own business conduct guidelines to be an upstander if we see something wrong. This is wrong. And this is just like when SHRM said that they were going to be dropping equity from their diversity, equity, and inclusion mantra. A lot of the true believers freaked out in much the same manner. They were like, I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you're going back on what we're working towards. But SHRM literally said, they're not changing anything but the language. They need to make white people and men feel included because they cannot enter the cultural transformation they're trying to achieve without getting everyone on board with pushing the work and the messaging. But a lot of true believers are used to reacting to certain stimuli. So when the wording changes, these people are unsure how to react, and they think it might be some sort of a backstabbing to them. There's more here. What a very sad day for IBM. Company I was always proud to be a part of and to brag that it was ahead of its time in doing the right thing to promote DEI. No longer the case. I'm really sorry to hear that we do not have the courage to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion as our objectives. This is not a matter of majority voting, but an attitude I was proud about that IBM followed these beliefs. This topic is not debatable in terms of shareholder value. I'm sad that IBM follows the general mood in the US. This does not make us as IBM special and takes a lot away from being proud to be an IBMer. What are we willing to throw away next just because it's not convenient anymore? It's so shocking to see how, with carefully crafted verbal smokescreens like outdated terms, everything that IBM has built over the last 100 years is being destroyed and thrown overboard in mindless preemptive obedience. Our values are worth nothing if we give them up so easily just to please a crazy guy who is currently driving America into the abyss and doesn't care about the damage he's causing worldwide. A guy who denies scientific findings, uses verbal smokescreens to justify the destruction of democracy, massively offends all of America's long-standing international partners, and oppresses and pits minorities against each other. The phrase to eliminate outdated content and terminology says it all. Insidious. And these people are fucking crazy. There's no way this is organic. These are true believers, again, who have been taught to react to certain stimuli. So when IBM changes language and says they're like not going to be using outdated terminology anymore, that's IBM saying we need to change these things to continue doing the work in a more secretive manner. And I'll get to my tweet in a second. But these people are used to this terminology. That terminology is what sparks their brains into working. And so if that terminology goes away, these true believers think these companies are turning their backs on them. Which is why in the meetings with Bridge for both January and February, parts of those meetings were involving the HR representatives who had come to them to talk to them and explain how you need to change the language in order to keep doing the work without getting in legal trouble. But you need to change it in a way that also relaxes everyone and allows them to know hey, we have to do this if we want to be committed to our cultural change, but we have to change some of the terminology for now. Please don't worry. Like, this is something that Bridge has gone over for quite a while. And he has a lot more tweets here of like, DEI faithfuls freaking out. I don't think I need to read all of these. Appreciate the statement. It took me a while to understand what it said. I summarize it as below. Is it accurate? IBM continue to believe that talent is a pillar to competitive advantage. Inclusion is the key to attract and retain from all talent pools. Going forward, we won't share our beliefs externally anymore to attract all talent. And executive leaders aren't incentivized on this pillar anymore to competitive advantage. If that's the case, it's kind of disappointing to me. Not sure what I shall read from this, but discussing with my Gen AI assistant, my conclusion is that IBM is not standing up for diversity any longer. It is now a personal thing for any individual IBMer to follow or not to follow. Shame. Competitive package, yeah, right? Yeah, right. This is interesting. I didn't see this before. But back to his main tweet. Note that all but one of those was the Lunduke Journal, and the other one was not Robby Starbuck. Among the mountain of leaks which I have published, some of which Robbie discusses in his video without credit given to the Lunduke Journal, I have never once mentioned, or I never heard one mention of Robby Starbuck by IBM or Red Hat executives. I have heard several mentions of both James O'Keefe and myself. I even forwarded the most recent leaks published by the Lunduke Journal to Robby Starbuck, which it appears led to his announcement. This is weird and shady, Robbie.
All right, y'all, huge win to report to you guys. Another behemoth of a company. This one has a market cap of almost $250 billion, is getting rid of their DEI policies, getting rid of their wokeness. And this is after we have come to the table and engaged with them. And we're coming away with a lot of changes that we can exclusively tell you about. And the company that's changing today is IBM. Now let's dive into all the changes that are happening at IBM. First of all, IBM will no longer have a DEI department. And secondly, they will no longer participate in the HRC's crazy woke CEI scoring system that's essentially a social credit system to ensure the corporation.
Wow, they're doing exactly what Bridge has instructed them to do for the last 2 fucking years. Don't explain this shit publicly. Get out of the reporting system so people don't notice what you're doing. Wow! Wow, it's almost like I've been talking about this for over a year.
Are sufficiently woke and adherent to the trans agenda. Third, and y'all know this is one of my favorites, IBM will no longer use the insane woke terminology Latinx. We're Latinos, we're Hispanic, we're not Latinx. Okay, so they are going to stop this lunacy. Number 4, IBM has eliminated their diversity council. And number 5, they have eliminated.
The fuck is a Be Equal podcast? Oh god. I'm tired, boss. They eliminated the diversity council. You know what they probably did is just rename it to something else or just disperse all of their diversity officers into other departments without a diversity title.
Their Be Equal podcast, which is essentially a DEI podcast. And sadly, yes, that was a real thing. Number 6, and this is big, IBM will no longer endorse the so-called Equality Act, which was a bill that was the enemy of the safety of women and girls, because that bill had nothing to do with equality. It was about allowing men who pretend to be women into girls' sports, into girls' spaces like their bathrooms, their locker rooms, women's jails, and even women's shelters. So yeah, good news. IBM is pulling out of this. Like many companies,
I'd like to see a source for that one. I would like to see a source for that one though.
Sadly endorsed this bill back when the HRC pressured companies to endorse this bill. That is no longer the case. IBM will not be endorsing this bill going forward. Number 7, and I can't stress the absurdity of this enough that this was a real thing. IBM has ended their I'm in Allyship campaign. And yes, sadly, once again, that was a real thing. And if you look below this, you'll see something called allyship circles, where I guess people sit in circles and talk about how to be better allies to one another. What a fantastic use of work time.
One of the ways that Bridge has instructed companies to keep their ERGs is to say that the ERGs are open to allies. So like I've explained before, if there's like an African American employee resource group, you can join that without being an African American as long as you are considered an ally. And also they don't really even have to accept you. They just have to give you the opportunity to apply to it. So
freaking lunatics. Okay, I'm sorry, but stuff like this drives me crazy. Work is work. We're not there to sing kumbaya. We're not there to do therapy. We're not there for your psychological well-being. We're there to do work, okay? Get your job done and stop pretending everybody else owes you some sort of empathy session or some sort of victimhood validation. We don't. Just do your job, please. Number 8, IBM has shifted their supplier strategy to no longer prioritize diverse suppliers, and instead they are prioritizing and focusing on all small businesses and veteran-owned businesses.
We read this from one of the Bridge emails, I think last week, where a lot of companies are shifting the language from diverse suppliers to small business suppliers. They're not changing anything. They just changed the name.
Number 9, this will be a tough one for the they-thems. IBM will not have a corporate policy of suggesting that you use preferred pronouns. Number 10, IBM will not include allyship in their training programs going forward. Number 11,
if the tenets of DEI are just dispersed throughout the entire company and everyone is forced to do them, you don't really need to include allyship training, especially under that name, because everyone's going to take the allyship training under their regular training manual.
maybe most important, IBM will hire the best candidates regardless of race. They are not going to do diversity quotas in hiring, period. And lastly, diversity goals are no longer a part of the executive compensation at IBM. Hat tip to James O'Keefe's previous story on the CEO at IBM, because I think that had something to do with that specific change. If you love and appreciate what we do, then please subscribe on my X page at Robbie Starbuck, or go to robbystarbuck.com/DEI, where you can contribute one time if you want to help us fight this crazy ideology that has infected corporate America. Together, we can eliminate it. And if you're an executive watching, get rid of this stuff before we call you. Please, you don't need to wait for us. Please just have the courage to get rid of this. Save your companies. We know what makes America great, and it is not DEI.
Chat, am I not good at shilling? Is this what I should be doing? Like, instead of actually caring about Bridge and what Bridge is doing, should I just be like, hey, chat, if you want me to do more research on this, if you like listening to Bridge nonsense, fucking, you don't have $5? You gotta subscribe. You gotta spend your money if you want me to do more Bridge things. Like, that just feels fucking weird. Like, whenever I hear it, I get, like, that skin crawly feeling, like, you should be doing this because it's something you want to do and feel principled for. I'm like, yeah, sure, it's great when people pay you money, but to, like, tack that on at the end of you, like, exposing things, I don't know. It makes me feel fucking weird, dude. Look at his eyes. Guy's either a grifter or planned opposition. With how much articles tout him as, like, the anti-DEI activist taking down DEI in companies, it makes it feel, like, really, really planned. Robbie has done good work before, but he's getting a big head, starting to think he doesn't really care. He's just doing it for money and recognition. Keep doing what you do, Lunduke. Very few balanced voices in tech media. You're important and appreciated. And it's also important to call out things when they are incorrect, which is why I have, quote, retweeted Robby Starbuck probably like 10 or so times, correcting him when he says that DEI has been dropped from a company. Like, Jack Daniels didn't drop it, Harley Davidson didn't drop it, Lowe's didn't drop it, Amazon obviously not going to drop it. Like, it's been so many companies, it's gotten kind of ridiculous. And again, if you go to Robby Starbuck's tweet here that he was talking about in his video, and you go to the hidden replies, you do see him hiding everyone talking about Lunduke Journal, and how the Lunduke Journal was the one who brought out this information. And as I've said before, any small content creators in my chat, hidden messages are pinned messages. If you don't want someone to see something, you don't hide it. Right? Like, if you try to hide something, it's just going to boost it even further. Going to boost it even further. Do not use the hidden replies for their intended function. Only time I ever hide replies is if they're from, like, the fucking sex bots that haven't gotten banned yet. So I quote retweeted Lunduke here with his April 8th tweet. The Lunduke Journal has obtained an internal email from Red Hat subsidiary of IBM, CEO Matt Hicks, which announces a number of massive DEI-related changes at the open source giant. Red Hat will remove the racist, illegal diversity requirements for third-party suppliers. The DEI communities will be transformed into employee resource groups. DEI-related information and language will be updated or removed from Red Hat's public websites. And so a TLDR from this, because we've already read this entire thing, this Bridge buzz from April. I read some of these points on Side Scrollers. I read through the entire thing on my own stream after I was on Side Scrollers. So we've read this entire thing already. But down here, Number 5, the Civil Rights Act and the legal protections it affords remain unchanged. Continue to review your DEI practices to ensure that they are compliant with Title VII. For example, internships are open to all applicants, mentorships open to all employees, allies are invited to attend ERGs. They know what they're doing. This has been planned. An executive order is a directive for how the federal government must act under the law, and in and of itself, it does not have the force of law. Therefore, executive orders can be overturned if they violate federal or constitutional law. The assertion that merit-based hiring is contrary to DEI practices is a false narrative. DEI practitioners have not advocated for hiring unqualified individuals. The role of DEI is to break the systemic structures that have historically excluded qualified talent and expand opportunities to those who have been arbitrarily denied access. Merit and DEI have never been mutually exclusive. Number 8, you cannot please everyone, so committing to your company values versus capitulating to the politics of the moment is essential in maintaining trust in your brand. These values guide your mission, goals, culture, decision-making, behaviors, and relationships, serving as a foundation for how your company operates and interacts with employees, customers, and the broader community. Clearly define a zero-tolerance policy for all forms of discrimination and harassment. Ensure it is clearly communicated to your employees. And once again, any company claiming this, we know is just bridge language. We know that all of these people are upset that the EEOC said, yes, if you are white, if you are male, if you are heterosexual, you can file discrimination cases. It is not just for so-called protected classes. There is no such thing as reverse discrimination. It is just discrimination. And they out themselves when they show that they get mad at what the EEOC is doing, because the EEOC is actually showing a zero-tolerance policy. These people want to discriminate. They want to implement anti-racist policies, which are just the correct kind of racism. And then when you read, because this is what I said to do, I said read the bridge thing and then reread the Red Hat leaks. So after reading that TLDR portion of the bridge email, this is from the Red Hat email. After our review of existing programs and processes, we are making some changes beginning this week. From the beginning, we have always amplified the passion of Red Hatters. It's what made us so successful in open source. But our individual passions don't stop at software development, and the lines have blurred between individual beliefs and our company positions. In the current environment, in the US and around the world, we have to clarify our positions as a company separately from the positions of the passionate individuals who make up our company. As a result, you will see us making the following changes. And once again, they're lying to you here. They're saying that they're going to separate the individual positions of people from the positions of the company. But again, if you read in the bridge, committing to your company values versus capitulating to the politics of the moment is essential in maintaining trust in your brand. The values of the individuals are what informed the values of the company. They're not changing what the values are. And especially a company like IBM, who has been dedicated to DEI for so long, they're not going to just throw it in the trash. It's the same as people claiming it's leaving Amazon. It's not going to. We are updating information and language on both our internal and external websites, like redhat.com and Source. Some content will be removed, while other content will be updated. And again, updating information, changing language is obfuscating what they're doing. They're not getting rid of anything. We will transform our DEI communities into employee resource groups focused on support, networking, and mentoring. These ERGs will remain open and inclusive to every Red Hat associate. For example, internships are open to all applicants, mentorships open to all employees, allies are invited to attend, employee resource groups, etc. This is not changing anything. This is still adhering to the work. This is still following DEI messaging. We have evolved our global procurement criteria, which involves removing specific supplier diversity requirements. Again, this is involving changing the language from saying that they're going to use diverse suppliers to saying they're going to use small businesses. We are evaluating other programs and processes, and if any changes are needed, we will also make those. And again, this is what Bridge has been informing people of. Pay attention to the laws, pay attention to how the executive orders are being revealed, pay attention to if your company receives federal funding, how you'll have to change your language to avoid lawsuits or getting your funding pulled. This is not evaluating if we need to drop DEI. This is evaluating if we need to change more language. The principles have been, and always will be, core to who Red Hat is. We will continue to create a space where everyone is welcomed, respected, and valued, guided by our shared passion for our open source principles and our commitment to our customers' success. We continue to believe that our collective strength sparks open source innovation, and that unites us through a culture of belonging. And again, belonging was one of the words that was very, very much liked, especially by Sherm, to exchange with equity. So you have inclusion and belonging. You want to make these people feel like they belong, because if they don't feel like they belong at your company, they're not going to adopt your values. They're not going to want to push the message, and you need them to usher in the cultural transformation. We will continue to focus on building and retaining teams that represent the communities we work in and serve. To achieve this, we will continue to recruit in places and at events that introduce Red Hat to a broad audience and talent pool. We will not tolerate discrimination of any kind. We will continue to comply with the applicable laws in all countries in which we operate. And these last 2 points here, again, if you go back to the bridge email, clearly define a zero-tolerance policy for all forms of discrimination and harassment. Ensure it is clearly communicated to your employees. Once again, they do not mean that they want to do the correct kind of discrimination. Then this last part here, while we continue to monitor the situation, our fundamental commitment to fostering an inclusive environment will not change. Wow. I'm so shocked that at the end of the email they said, yeah, we're not going to change fucking anything. It's like every single one of these other companies that put out any kind of messaging. Red Hat was built on a commitment to open source and open ways of working, which inherently value diverse perspectives and collaboration. Our individual passions and beliefs around the world will never perfectly align, and it's not our goal as a company to align them. We see strength in those differences. Quite simply, those differences and the debates around them show up in open source, which is at the center of our company. Those differences have made open source stronger, and the results of open source are why we are here. We will not lose sight of the values that have made us successful, and will continue to strive to make Red Hat a workplace where everyone can thrive. And again, I'm going to agree with him. Thank you to the brave whistleblowers who continue to provide the material to the Lunduke Journal. Whistleblowers are very important. Even if I think all of what they're saying in this email is complete bullshit to continue capitulating to the work as we can read in plain text, it's still important to know that this is what they're doing. It's still important to know how they're changing their language and how they're trying to get around all of the blocks that are being put on DEI. And for people who haven't been here before or who don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about the zero tolerance policy, but Kirsche, number 9, states a zero tolerance policy for discrimination. That's what we want. We're winning. Except this isn't a zero tolerance policy, and they're going to keep discriminating. How do we know this? They cried out about the EEOC saying reverse discrimination isn't real. The EEOC has now stated in no uncertain terms that discrimination filings are not only for perceived protected classes, which Marxists are not happy with. And in one of the Bridge weekly guidances, they had an EEOC overview. As a reminder, on March 17th, the acting commissioner of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, Andrea Lucas, issued letters to 20 law firms requesting detailed information of their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, asserting the potential Title VII violations. The letters expressly target conduct involving race or gender-based decision-making or activities that classify, limit, or segregate employees in ways that could potentially deny certain groups, such as white or male employees, equal access to employment opportunities. As of March 26th, the 20 law firms targeted by acting EEOC Chair Andrea Lucas's letters regarding their DEI programs have not publicly responded to the requests. They have until April 15th to respond. In addition to the 7 former EEOC chairs and commissioners issuing a 2-page letter in response, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under Law released a statement condemning the actions of Lucas. We condemn Acting Chair Lucas's targeting of 20 named law firms working to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in their workplaces. Acting Chair Lucas does not have the authority alone to act or speak on behalf of the EEOC as an official body. Official EEOC action requires a quorum of the 5-member commission, which currently does not exist after Trump fired 2 commissioners, breaking with precedent and possibly the law. While the rules allow individual EEOC commissioners to inflate a charge of discrimination on their own initiative, all charges must be made under penalty of perjury. This prevents commissioners from initiating frivolous investigations or abusing the legal process. Lucas's letters are not charges of discrimination. As such, they carry no more weight of authority than if they had been written on a cocktail napkin by any member of the public. And again, their complaint is that the EEOC wants to ensure that white and male employees are protected under the same discrimination laws as everyone else. And to Marxists, when you have to treat people actually equally and they get their privileges taken away, they cry like fussy babies. Who the fuck calls their IDE one port on their old PC a secondary port? It's master and slave. That's problematic language. And I continue showing off the information here. The legal interpretation, they say these letters do not initiate formal administrative or legal proceedings. Former EEOC officials have criticized the letters and urged Lucas to withdraw them, expressing grave concerns that this order exceeds the agency's enforcement duties under law. Furthermore, the letter argues that the EEOC acting chair has exceeded her enforcement authority under Title VII. A bridge point of view, they talk about the Civil Rights Act and the legal protections it affords and how it remains unchanged. The acting chair of the EEOC has limited authority. No member of the commission can unilaterally change the EEOC's longstanding position on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Leaders should take a pragmatic approach and avoid reacting by arbitrarily eliminating their DEI practices. Instead, without stigma, they should apply the same rigor of evolving DEI as they do other core business strategies. Identify what's working and what isn't, strengthen its connection to business outcomes, and mitigate risk. And then I go down here a bit more after all of this. If these ideologues actually meant what they said when claiming to have zero tolerance against discrimination, why would this news be upsetting? Here's an article about the EEOC guidelines, as well as the 2 info papers the EEOC dropped on what you can do if DEI is in place at your work and you feel you have experienced discrimination on a DEI basis. Since these guidelines dropped at the end of March, I've encouraged anyone who has felt this way at their work to file complaints. And I add the links from the EEOC here. We've already read all of these on stream. They're very long. And then they have this whole thing about what DEI-related discrimination can look like. And I put a quote here from an AP News article on the guidelines and how people are angry about them. A group of 10 former Democratic commissioners and councils released its own letter on Thursday, warning the legal counsel the DEI documents give misleading impression that common programs are fraught with legal peril, and dismissed them as reflecting Lucas's personal opinion. The letter offered counter guidance on how employers should continue implementing training and other practices that the EEOC policy documents encourage to prevent discrimination. Why are they so mad that the EEOC wants to treat white people and men equally to the protected classes and women? Why are they mad about this if they're not trying to discriminate against white people and men? There would be no reason to get angry about this. There would be no reason to push back against it. There would be no reason to write these articles saying that the EEOC is experiencing overreach and that the Lucas lady who runs it is just pushing her opinion instead of acting in the best interest of the people. It's actually a crazy thing to watch in real time. These people call equality oppression. All you hear is pro-discrimination of white men when you hear DEI, and they're saying it out loud. Like, they're not hiding this. And I've been showing it in their white pages and their documents for over a year now, when they straight up say that, yes, diverse means less white people, less men, less heterosexuals. Like, I'm not pontificating, I'm not hypothesizing. They've literally written this down, and I've showed it off on stream. Like, all of us have known that's what it's meant for the longest time, but if you say it, you typically get called, a racist or a bigot or a sexist or what the fuck ever. But when these companies are writing it on their own and you just read it, what kind of, response can they do to that? You can't, the company isn't being racist if that's what you believe in, right? Equality is oppression, obviously. When you are used to enjoying privileges, equality can feel like oppression. That is racist. It is racist, but these people will claim that it's not. So this is why I wanted to, and this is like the are only employees protected from DEI related discrimination at work? No. Title VII protects employees, applicants, and training or apprenticeship program participants. The EEOC does not require a higher showing of proof for so-called reverse discrimination claims. The EEOC's position is that there is no such thing as reverse discrimination. There is only discrimination. The EEOC applies the same standard of proof to all race discrimination cases, regardless of the victim's race. This should not be something that people are angry about. And the fact that they are angry should strike you as a massive fucking red flag. And this is why, again, like I'm saying, the Lunduke Journal is doing important work. It's great that he's been following IBM and Red Hat. I love that his whistleblowers gave him this information because it allows me to show, hey, they're not getting rid of it. They're not changing anything. This is literally what these companies have been planning to do for years.